Welcome back to the Friday Five for April 21st, 2023. My name is Andrew Ayers. I'm an estate planning and business law attorney with offices in Edina, Minnesota and New York City. Today we're going to look at 5 questions that came up in the past week. 5 short questions, usually with short answers. Maybe you've had this question in the past and you're just looking for a little more information. And of course, if there's a question you want to dig deeper into, feel free to reach out and we can discuss it further. Question number 1, who can witness my will? So in this case, we're looking at a married couple and they've put together their wills and they're getting ready to sign them. And the question we're running into is who is going to be the will witness? So when you're working with my office and you're coming into the office, we will usually provide the witnesses for your will. The reason is if somebody's named in your will, if they're a personal representative or an executor, they're a beneficiary, a guardian or trustee for your kids, these are the kinds of people that should not be the witness to your will. And it really is going to depend on your local law, and you would want to check with a local attorney to make sure. But in the states where I practice, the good rule of thumb is we want to make sure it's not somebody who is involved in the will, they're not named in the will, they won't receive anything under the will, because if they are, then they shouldn't be a witness. And what happens is that allows somebody down the road to actually challenge the will. So if the will gets filed with your local probate court and somebody says, I want to challenge what's in that will, that's the first place they can look to challenge. Say, wait a second, Steve's wife was one of the witnesses. That's not proper. Let's see if we can throw out that will. Question number 2 this week. Do I have to give a power of attorney all of the powers listed? So if you look at your power of attorney form, you're probably going to see a whole list of different powers they can give. In New York, for example, it goes A through O, other states A through N, some are numbered. What we look at is it's a list of different powers that you can grant under the power of attorney. And usually the last line says, I give all of the powers above. And so in this case, our client and I were sitting down, we were discussing the different powers, and the client wasn't comfortable with granting a few of the powers in that list. And so one of the upsides of the power of attorney is you don't have to blanketly give somebody all of the powers that are listed. You can choose what powers you are granting to your power of attorney. So if you don't want to give them power over your investments, if you want to make sure your investment advisor is working independent of them and they can't change that, then you can take that power out. A very common one that people take out is the power over life insurance. So if you don't want the power of attorney to have the ability to cancel your life insurance, then you can take that power out as well. So just because you're given the power of attorney document, think of it more like a menu at a restaurant. So you have a list of all the different powers. You don't have to order every power. You can choose which ones you want to give to your power of attorney, and you just don't have to give them the other ones that you don't want to give them. The other thing you can look at is whether or not your power of attorney will expire. So maybe you want to give them these powers, but only for a set amount of time. You don't want this to go on forever. So the key to the power of attorney, which is normally just a basic state form that you're going to deal with, is make sure it's tailored to you and that you're only granting the powers that you're comfortable with. Question number 3 this week, what do I do if my customer files for bankruptcy? So in this case, a former client is dealing with a rather high-profile bankruptcy filing in the last few weeks. And their concern is they're owed a significant amount of money, they've received the notice from the bankruptcy court in the mail, and they're wondering what do they do next. Now I'll begin this by saying that I'm not a bankruptcy attorney, so my advice to my client and what we're going to do is help them find a bankruptcy attorney to lead them through this process. Because what they need to do is first check that notice that they get from the court and make sure the amount that is claimed to be owed to them is the proper amount. In this case, it was not, so they're going to need to file a notice of claim with the bankruptcy court to make sure that they've got the right number in there. And the next thing the bankruptcy court's going to do is put together a plan and put together a committee of creditors. Now, my clients are owed a significant amount of money. However, in the context of the company, they may not even be one of the top creditors. Even though it's a lot of money to them, they may not be one of the top 20 creditors, so they might not get to serve on the creditor committee that the bankruptcy court would put together. However, this is something way beyond a quick Friday 5 question, and this is where it's important to understand that you want to find a bankruptcy attorney. There may not be a ton for the bankruptcy attorney to do at the outset for this client, but it's good to have somebody knowledgeable in the bankruptcy world to help lead you through the various steps you're going to have to take with that bankruptcy court. When you're dealing with other businesses, this is a pretty common occurrence where either you're in a lawsuit with them or they owe you a bunch of money, and then they go quiet on you for a while, and you later find out they've either closed the business or they're filing for bankruptcy. Question number 4 this week, who do I talk to if I want to sell my business? So this is a pretty common question we get for business owners when we're looking at their succession plan, which is what we're going to do when they no longer want to own the business. They're looking to get out, and do they want to sell to their family members or do they want to sell to an outside party? So if you're selling to family members, it's a much easier situation to deal with because you can talk to the family members and work that out and create your documents. But if you want to sell your business on the open market, you need to figure out who can you sell it to. And in this case, I have a client who's working with a business broker. And so what the business broker's role is they connect sellers of businesses with buyers of businesses. And they usually can be industry specific, meaning they focus just on one industry, and others are nationwide and will work with anybody. But the key is make sure you're comfortable with that business broker, you understand what they're going to do for you and what they aren't going to do for you, and see what they can do to help match you up with the right buyer for your business. Now, you may not also be obligated to take that offer that you get. So as the seller, you may get an offer from a buyer that is just way too low or you're not comfortable with it. And a lot of people feel intimidated. So, oh, that's the best I can do. I have to sell it. The simple answer is you don't have to sell your business. It's your business in the end. You and the other owners, if there's other owners, need to make that decision and think about whether or not you truly want to sell the business to that buyer. Question 5 this week that piggybacks on that one is, question number 4 is, how do I figure out how much my business is worth? And this is a really interesting topic because you need to figure out what kind of valuation you want to do on your business. So the first person you can talk to is your accountant. And your accountant will give you the basic numbers. They can give you your P&L statements for the last few years. They can give you a variety of other numbers. But what you're really looking for is a business valuation. And there are going to be companies out there who can do a business evaluation. And they will look through and see, based upon your P&L and your assets and your liabilities, they can give you a number that they would consider the fair market value of your business. And then there's going to be multipliers. So here's the value of the business. Here's what we would sell it for. Now, the flip side of this is if your business gets caught up in a litigation, whether it's a dissolution litigation or maybe you're getting a divorce and they need to put a value on your business for the purposes of that divorce case, that type of valuation, they're looking at pretty much the same numbers, but they come with a different outcome. And what they're looking at valuing is just your interest in that business, and then whether or not part of that business can be transferred to your ex-spouse or can be transferred to a former business owner. So when you're looking at the valuation process, we need to look at whether or not you're selling the business willfully or whether or not you're stuck in a lawsuit and you need to get a valuation number. These two valuation numbers can actually be different because what you can get for it in the open market can be very different from what a court would consider the value of your business. In your state, you also have to look at what is the date for the valuation. So if you're going through a dissolution, the valuation date may be the date the case was filed, and maybe today, and maybe the date it goes to trial, but you need to make sure you understand with your professionals, with your attorney, what that date is so you can get the proper valuation number on there. So that's your 5 questions for this week. It's April 21st, 2023. We were hoping for spring to come through Minnesota, but it's been cold and rainy all week, and next week doesn't look a lot better. So hopefully spring is around the corner. I guess we're probably going to have to wait for May at this point. There'll be a link in this description if you'd like to ask questions for future videos. If you like this, it'd be great if you can hit the like button, the thumbs up, the share button. If you'd like to see future episodes, you can also go over to YouTube, ayerslaw.tv.com, and subscribe on the YouTube channel. I hope wherever you are, you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next Friday.